Welcome to the very first ever episode of On the Shelf. I'm your host, Stephen Daly. And this is, and today we're talking, unfortunately, about a game that has come out that has received a ton of criticism, Fallout 76. I would have just written a review, but I felt like now more than ever, it's time to get a little angry because, well, Fallout 76 is obviously not what anybody wanted, and it's not what anybody was expecting. And I remember when it got announced back in June, I was kind of excited, and I was kind of worried, and now it's obvious that we should have all ran for the fucking hills because this thing's a piece of shit. Alright? I'm sure you've seen more than enough people go ahead and review bomb it and talk about how awful it is. And I mean, it is. It's fucking awful. I mean, I didn't even complete the fucking game because it's so mind-numbingly bad with its glitches, the structure of the story, and the lore, and all this other stuff. And it's just, it's bad. It's bad. And for anybody who hasn't had an opportunity to hear out some gamers and hear out certain YouTube channels, the outlets, the main outlets, the MSOs, the mainstream outlets, to me, like IGN and Game Informer, I mean, they're a lot nicer to this game than the rest of us. And so I'm here to tell you, and I'm here to warn you, to stay away from this thing. Because this thing is terrible. It's awful. But why is it awful? Why is it so terrible? What went wrong, and can it be fixed? I think those are the questions that I feel like need to be answered as we continue on with this thing. So let's start out with the fact that the world just feels flat. It's boring. I mean, for the first time ever, we have a bunch of color. I mean, in some instances, the world is fucking gorgeous. And, you know, I mean, I know that sounds bad, because there's a lot of people that are like, what are you talking about? I mean, there's some moments when you look at the horizon, it's a bit blurry, but it's got the oranges and the greens, and it does look great in some instances. But in a lot of instances, it looks like garbage as textures nearby are trying to pop in 5 feet away. You know, you got a fucking tree that you can't, it's a smooth tree, it's a Gumby tree, until you get up close to it and you just watch it slowly pop in. It's awful. Todd Howard was on record saying 16 times more pixels. It's gonna look great. It's gonna look fantastic. And it looks like shit. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Fallout 4, and I never started reviewing games until last year, so I never wound up reviewing Fallout 4. Maybe I'll do a legacy review of that, and Fallout 3, and Fallout New Vegas at some point. But Fallout 4 wasn't a terrible game, but one of the big drawbacks from it, the terrible lackluster graphics. I mean, it looked better than Fallout 3, but Fallout 3 also came out 8 years before Fallout 4, so it's not a hard fucking thing to jump over. That's a real low bar to okay, well, Fallout 4 didn't look terrible. It was alright. It wasn't The Witcher 3, which came out earlier that same fucking year, so that was kind of a ballsy move on their part, but whatever, right? But they literally just picked up Fallout 4, and then they dropped it in this fucking game, and they're trying to feed it to you as a new experience, and we fucking re-rendered shit, and we fucking did this, and we did that, and it looks bad. It looks bad, and it doesn't help that everything's always popping in all the time, and it doesn't look, the draw distances are just awful. I mean, The draw distances in this game are just so terrible that they would actually make Black Ops 4 blush, okay? And I know there might be some people out there that'll totally disagree with me, but I'm sorry. Compared to some other games out there, man, the draw distance for fucking Black Ops 4 is terrible. That, okay, they try to sell it to us, well, oh, the world's not going to have any human NPCs. And even then, and even now, I still go, why? Why not? I mean, you're talking about, you know, taking out the best part of your games. The fact that, you know, yeah, your games have been known for bugs, which I think is hilarious that Todd actually went ahead and fucking cracked a joke about that. And then you took out the best part of your games that make us get past the bugs and some of the graphical errors and some of the other issues that we've always had with some of your games. We've pushed past that. Even the seventh fucking version of Skyrim, we pushed past those bugs because the NPCs and the stories and the side quests and all this other stuff, man, they grab us. They fucking bring us in because the writing shows off there. And while this game has great writing, the issue with the issue is that it's all in lore. Maybe the devs were just told to do this. Maybe they were locked into a fucking room with Todd Howard for fucking like 3 days straight without food and water, while he was like, repeat after me, the lore is the story. But there are some of the devs, the poor bastards, who have been trotted out there to sit there and talk about, oh, we're telling the story in a different way. No, you're telling it like it would be in a lore way. Okay? Other games, they consider that lore. And with Todd and his, you know, and his people that he keeps trudging out there, they keep trying to tell us it's a different way to tell a story. No, it's not. There's no story. Or, okay, there's a very minuscule story, but it's so emotionless, just cobbled together that I can't even consider a story. And neither should you, and neither should anybody. But the lack of the NPCs and the lack of the connections, you know, you've got us doing these events, right? They've got public events like they do in Destiny. They're just far fucking worse somehow. I mean, Destiny, and especially Destiny 2, I feel like they've done a lot better job of their public events. And there might be people out there that disagree with me. That's fine. I don't care. But to me, the public events are a lot more fun because there's different ways to trigger them, different ways to trigger heroic version. But they're not only so fucking mundane, they don't make any sense. You know, like, oh, well, we need you to start the food processor to make food for the people, the residents. Who? It's not for me. It's for people that we don't get to see and we don't get to invest in. You know, with Fallout 4, for all of its mistakes, you can still look at it and go, okay, hey, you can see the people that you're interacting with and you're making decisions for. That's why, you know, I mean, even though Fallout 4, like I said, had its issues and with some of its decision-making and some of the plot points that you go ahead and make choices on didn't really affect, you know, the big overhaul of the game. And they did make some mistakes there. They showed that they obviously can still do them. They obviously nailed it in both Far Harbor and in the Nuka World expansions. So I don't get it, you know, like when they finally start to kind of hit that stride again, they were like, they finally, you know, were like, okay, yeah, we can still do this. Todd's like, okay, now throw that out the window and just don't put anybody in the game. And it's just terrible. It's terrible. Nobody wants to sit there and talk to a fucking robot all the time. I mean, you have such a great premise in Fallout 76 to where, you know, with all the other Fallouts, there are people who've been living in the wasteland for, you know, in Fallout 4, a couple 100 years, 300 years. Somebody who's trying to find your kid while trying to understand a world everybody else has already been immersed in for hundreds of years, for centuries now. You know, it's a little offsetting, right? So, you know, to sit there and be like, okay, now instead of just putting you in a spot, making you a fish out of water like they've done in previous Fallout games, we're going to make it where you're a part of that. You're a part of the, you know, the group that helped create what you eventually see in Fallout 4. It's a great premise, you know, and you could have had it to where, you know, you get to see things in real fucking time about people having to learn about these creatures and learn about these things and learn about, it could have been great. And instead, it feels like base Destiny in the fact that everything's already happened and you're hearing about it and you get to see all these tales, you get to hear about all these tales, but you're not living any of it. And, you know, that's what made base Destiny, one of the reasons why it made base Destiny so terrible. What else? You know, you've got AI that's downright brain dead. I mean, the AI in this game my god, it would make the AI in, like, Mindjack and shit blush, okay? The AI in this fucking game it's bad. It's so bad. Did anybody program this? Did anybody do anything with this? I mean, look at some of these instances. Look at some of this shit. You know, then to add that on, you've got your terrible UI system. I've played with some really great UIs. There are some great UIs out there. This is not one of them. This was always terrible, but at least it paused the game. Now you're in a living world, it doesn't fucking pause the game. So you're in there fucking around with your bullshit, and you're gonna get whacked in the back of the head by one of these dumbass AIs. It's fucking terrible, man. It's terrible. There's tons of stuttering. I mean, the game, if it doesn't just look bad and, you know, and you have all this terrible pop-in, the game just, it runs at like fucking 5 frames a second most of the time. I mean, it's just bad. You're talking about the fact that it really, honestly, the game, I mean, not to sit there and keep dragging up how bad it does look, but between the stuttering, the frame rate, how it, you know, how it runs, you know, even Fallout 4 had its faults with that, especially when you got into like a little more heavily populated areas. But you know, you're talking about a game that feels 2 generations behind, trying to play like a game that's current gen, and it just doesn't fucking do it. That's what's completely neutered. I mean, another thing that made Fallout was the VAT system, the ability to slow down time and take the perfect shot. And they completely wipe out. They left VATs in here, but everything runs in real time. Like, what's the fucking point? I don't understand. I don't get why even leave it in there. If you're not going to do anything different, why leave it in there? PvP doesn't make any sense. Why have it in there? You know, until, you know, like, don't get me wrong, I don't want to get griefed, and I don't think most people do, especially when it comes to a Fallout experience. Most of the time when it comes to a Fallout experience, we just want to be left alone and do our quests and do this. This game feels more like it should be co-op, but it's like they market it as a PvP thing too, to try and get like those last players that just, they don't care as much for like Fallout or Elder Scrolls, that they can't be bothered with that. So when you hear, oh, PvP, I like PvP, I like shooting people in the fucking face. So they threw that in there and put a little asterisk by it and said, there's PvP. There's not really PvP. Nobody really fights each other, which is not a good thing or a bad thing. It's kind of just like, why have it there? It's just a bullet point. That's what it is. It's a bullet point. And there's nothing rewarding about it anyways. What, you get to steal their fucking junk? Whoop de fucking do. I already am carrying way too much of my own fucking junk. I don't want to sit there and kill somebody to steal theirs. I don't want to sit there and hinder him or her to sit there and be like, well, I'm going to steal your shit. The thing is like, okay, all the story is told through these audio logs now. Story. The lore is told through all these audio logs, and you're kind of following like little breadcrumbs, and they're not bad. Look, the lore in this game is phenomenal. The story is non-existent, and you can't. Destiny's already tried to do that, and it failed. It got punished for it for a while. You know, now they're finally doing a lot more with the story, and they're doing more with the lore, and they're kind of keeping it all in the game now, and so on and so forth. Not to keep going back to that example, but that's the best example I can fucking give you. That it's a game that at first thought, oh, well, lore equals story, right? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't keep people invested. It doesn't keep people, you know, wanting to keep doing more and grinding more. But even then, Destiny still did it better, because Destiny had guns and armor that you wanted to go collect because it looked cool or it did cool shit. There's nothing like that in Fallout. There's nothing like that in Fallout. They don't give us the really cool loot or the really cool things or the things to keep us wanting coming back for more, like a Borderlands or a Destiny 2 or you know, or anything like that. You know, Diablo 3, none of that. It's all the worst parts of those games just fucking crammed with the Fallout 4 building system that's fucking broken. I like the Fallout 4 system. The building system for Fallout 4, I actually genuinely liked. But instead of improving it, or instead of doing more with it, they're just like, let's cram it into a fucking game and just shit it out. And it sucks. It's bad. Okay, so going back to, the whole fact that there's lore and there's all this, you're listening to it and trying to listen to it while you have other people in the server and other people in your party yelling and screaming and talking, and it's irritating. It's terrible. It's bad. And there's no, I haven't figured it out. I'm sure there's a way. There's no way to mute these people. So I gotta fucking listen to them fucking have their mom scream at them to clean up their room. I need to listen to old dudes' girlfriends and then tell them get off. The kids just screaming into the mic. It's why I don't play Fortnite. Because I'm tired of little kids screaming into the mic. And then, of course, there's really one last big thing, too, that I can think of is just the respec points. There's no way to respec. Now, I guess Fallout did go ahead and release something, I think, yesterday. I'll post it up. But, there's something along the lines of they were talking on, like, Reddit or something about how they're giving us the ability to respec points once we hit, like, level 50 or something like that. They're giving us more storage space. They're working on it. They say they're listening to us, but the reality is if they would have listened to us, they would have just not fucking released this thing. And look, I'm really bad at this game. This game's just really fucking bad. I told my brother stay away from it, and then he went and watched Angry Joe's review on it, and he's like, yeah, I'm glad I didn't fucking buy that game. Yeah, don't buy this game. Do not buy it. I bought it. I'm sad about it. Maybe give it 6 months to a year. Really, give it a year. And I'll re-review it, I'm planning on re-reviewing Sea of Thieves, and I just re-reviewed Destiny 2 with Forsaken, and talked about the things that I felt like they did really well, and the things that they're doing better than they were, and I kind of went back and talked about the things they didn't do well in the first year. Now, the biggest thing, and the thing that I feel like needs to be talked about the most, is the fact that games in general need to stop being not only rushed out, but we need to stop with this live service bullshit. It's an experiment that obviously isn't working, and it hasn't worked very well, and it's just pissing everybody off. Nobody has the fucking money or the time to deal with your fucking bullshit games and your buggy piece of shit releases and wait a year for you to just clean the shit stain up that you left on somebody's carpet. Okay? And I'm not particularly mad at the devs, because the reality is I don't think it's all their fault. I don't know if they even really wanted to do this type of project. Maybe they did want to do maybe they did want to do a new Fallout game, but they didn't want to do an always online game. But the people up top came down and said, oh, this is what we're doing, you better fucking do it. I've been there. I worked for a company that I left it. It's been 9 years of being told all these things, oh, this will be good, and this will be good, and this will be good, and it wasn't good, and it didn't work, and all it did was just make more work for me, and it made me do things that I didn't really want to do, and, I was just trying to build car parts and just get the fuck out of there. And, when you're making games, and you actually do enjoy it, some of them still do enjoy it, I know that it doesn't feel good hearing that, oh, well, your product's garbage. And I know that it doesn't feel good hearing that, oh, well, the thing that you worked 3 years on is a piece of shit. And it happens, and it's not completely your fault, if it's management's supposed to come look at the game and go, hey, wait a second, this final build isn't very fucking good, maybe we shouldn't release it, we'll push it back. Like, obviously they shouldn't have done it. They obviously were out of their depth with this one, and, none of it works. You got frame rate that's tied to movement. Like, who does that? And it just feels like one of those decisions that upper management should look at and said, wait, whoa. Let's not do that. Upper management is supposed to be guiding and supposed to be, looking at the project as a whole and then deciding, hey, you know what, this can be done better, let's do this better. The fact that upper management came back and was like, no, let's fucking ship this thing. This game's terrible. And there's a lot of things I'm not even bringing up. I'm just bringing up the things that pissed me off the most, really. The fact that, you had this buggy AI, you had all this, this terrible UI system, you had, this flat-ass world, like I said, certain things, they can look really pretty, and other times, you can get God rays out of the fucking dirt, or you can get something that it takes like 5 minutes to pop in, or sometimes you'll just be running around and all of a sudden the world just starts destabilizing. You're like, what the fuck is going on? As a AAA game, this is unacceptable. There are people right now giving Darksiders 3 some shit because it doesn't run really well sometimes. I mean, absolute shit. And that's a small studio compared to this AAA studio that's... They've got... How much money have you made off Skyrim? I mean, alone, with the 18 million fucking copies you have of Skyrim. Giving shit to Darksiders 3 for some of its performance issues, but not nearly giving enough, if not more, shit to Fallout 76 because Bethesda shit this thing out. Kind of fucking blows me away. This game is a travesty, and it's definitely one of the worst games of the year. I don't think anything's gonna beat it. If there's anything that can be taken away from this, whether, you know, it's the executives, the higher-ups in these companies, if they ever get to see this video, you know, I hope that you guys actually will listen to us, your consumer base, and just cut it out. You know, if you want to do an always online game, that's fine. You know, it's not the fact that I have a huge issue with always online games. It's just do them right. Do them justice. Blow us away. The reality is most of us are cynical when we hear, oh, it's going to be an always online game, because the reality is you give us an always online game, you give us something that's not ready to be released, that is, you know, buggy, or it just doesn't run very well, or it lacks content. I hope that you guys realize that, you know, if you're going to do something, you know, that has already been done before, or that, you know, you're like, okay, well, we really want to work on this project, okay, fine, but do it better than it's ever been done before. And so I really hope that the video at least gets to a few consumers and prevents you from buying the game. But I hope it also gets to some of the people, too, that were part of this game and realize that, you know, I still believe you guys can do not only better, I've seen you guys do better. And fairly recently, too. But you are obviously going to shake a lot of people's faith this game. And they're going to doubt you going forward. But you can't be upset about it. You have to just realize that that means that you're going to have to do better. And that doesn't mean work longer or work harder, just do better. Be more efficient. Because consumers don't want this. Consumers don't want to buy something for $60 and then wait a year. This isn't a fucking cash bond. This isn't the stock market. We're not trying to invest in something for it to be good later on down the road. We want it to be good now. So, actually, I'm kind of adding this late. As I was editing the video, it turns out that Bethesda had yet another fuck up with this fucking shit stain of game. They actually managed to go ahead and screw up their collector's editions, I guess. So people paid $200 for this collector's edition. And as you can see with the picture, it actually was supposed to come with a canvas bag. Well, it didn't. It came with a nylon bag. And it wasn't even a good nylon bag. It was a crumpled up, really thin piece of shit nylon bag. And somebody went ahead and messaged into the support center saying, hey, you know, what's up with this? What are you going to do about it? And the person, the rep, apparently went ahead and messaged back something along the lines of, we don't... Now, anybody who has a collector's edition can get 500 atoms. And atoms... Atom points or atoms, I can't remember what exactly it is. But basically, it's Bethesda's version of V-Bucks. And so, people who spent $200 for this collector's edition and didn't get the things that they were shown, that they were advertised, are basically like, well, tough shit, here's $5 in our virtual currency. You can't spend or do anything else with it. It's a bullshit response. And to be honest with you, is the reason why I actually had to redo my final overall verdict and went from a 2 out of 10 to a 1 out of 10, because that right there, that is a PR blunder. I don't even know how you ever come back from that. I don't think you do, to be honest with you. This whole thing, this whole game has been a PR blunder. Fucking Pete Hines has been like, not to big on that guy because he's a cool guy, but the dude's been like MIA since this game's been fucking released, and I don't blame him, but like, the dude has just been gone. He ghosted so hard, and so I just felt like I needed to point out just one more thing that was really terrible about this game. There's always a lot more, but I just felt like I needed to bring that to your attention in case anybody was thinking, hey, you know what? I do want that. I do want that collector's edition, though. Like, the game might be shit, but I want that collection. No, don't even get the collector's edition. Because even the collector's edition, as some people have jokingly referred to, has bugs. And I think that's hilarious, and it's fucking terrible. Who does that? How do you fuck up your collector's editions? And actually, funny enough, the 500 Atoms, apparently, I don't remember who it was. I think it's some guy from PC Gamer or whatever. And if I can find the post, I'll show it. But the PC Gamer guy was like, oh yeah, and it doesn't even cost 700 atoms, not even 500 atoms, to go ahead and buy the mailman outfit on the Bethesda store, to get the actual canvas bag. And I think that's both horrible and fucking hilarious. So with that, let's get the review score out of the way. The final verdict for this game is a low bar of 1 out of 10. There is nothing redeeming about this game. It is a waste of everyone's time. The developers, the consumers, everyone's. And I hope that Bethesda never does this again. Honestly, I wish I could say that I hope no company does this again. But it's 2018 and we're still having these releases. So I just want you guys to get better. Bethesda, anybody out there, I want companies and groups and devs to learn from this. Let's do better, guys. You guys find this useful. I'm hoping to do better and get better as time goes on with this. I love you guys. I will see you guys on the next On the Shelf.